Now, when we talked about the prospects last year, I think I read the quote from Melissa Lockhart about Luciano's back. Like even his offseason plans were hindered by the back injury that caused him to not play as many games last year as I'm sure the Giants would have hoped, and he would have hoped as well. And in his winter league, he only played 5 games because of the back injury. And so he did an interview with MLB Pipeline, and I'm using the McCovey Chronicles post here, written by one Brian Murphy, not the same KMBR Brian Murphy, different Brian Murphy, but he did a little bit of transcribing of the injury issue that Luciano was discussing, and so a couple of the quotes. So he asked about his back and said, you missed half the season because of your back. How does that affect you, and how's your recovery been? And Marco said, it affects you a lot. For example, I love playing ball, and what I like is to enjoy it. When you have an injury, it's not the same because you don't enjoy the game the same way. You're way more worried about the pain than other things. And now when you're healthy, you can see how beautiful the game is, enjoy it, and have fun. And so then he asked him about Luciano, if that was the real Luciano last year. And he said, last year when I started the season, I started out really well because I felt good. But then the pain started, wasn't the same. I was hanging in there, but it wasn't the same anymore because I was playing in a little pain. And then finally he asked him, we're 3 weeks from spring training. What's the latest on your back right now? He said he still doesn't have a date set to start hitting, but he imagines it will be soon. I really do feel good, and I'm working well to come back healthy. So my main takeaway with that discussion is A, back injuries are super tricky, and B, he didn't sound super confident that like things were going to be A-okay come spring training. And it could have been just the conversation, which was done in Spanish, I believe, but like he wasn't adamantly like, oh, I feel great, I'm ready to bounce back. He was like, no date set, but I feel good. So they're a little bit safe there with his explanation. And not that this is a year in which Luciano really needs to excel and get to the next level. Like he's still young enough to where they have time with him. But I think because of the pressures of the offseason and everything, there's going to be some circles around guys like Luciano and Harrison and Casey Schmidt about getting to that next level and helping the team, because as we've seen, the guys that we're trying to get over here to help the team, we haven't been successful. So the other way is to get these farm guys in. What'd you think about Luciano's remarks about his back?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I watched the interview, and like you said too, yeah. But the other thing too, it is kind of mid-January. I guess it's late January now, but it's kind of mid-January when the interview was done. So I'm not too terribly worried about his enthusiasm at this point. I'm just really more concerned about, you and I know very well, but we're also old guys, that back injuries kind of stick with you for a long time. It's not something that just kind of goes away and doesn't have a chance of coming back. I don't know what kind of back injury it is. If it's a muscle injury, what do they call them? Musculoskeletal. If it's a muscle injury, then maybe, there's good hope on the horizon for that. If it's a vertebrae type of injury, some sort of bone on bone injury, that could be an issue going forward. But again, just total speculation. I'm really, really excited to see, because this will be basically, what is it? The third year after COVID of a full minor league season. And with no, although the lockout didn't really play a part in it because minor league baseball was going to go on without a hitch last year anyways. So it's kind of that third season. Now it's time to see guys start to shine, start to progress, start to make it to that next level, start to show that promise that we've been looking for. But I really don't think the back injury is something to worry about going forward. I'm not a doctor, but I know that, from what he was saying. He just hasn't started swinging yet. I think it's probably a little too early for him to start swinging anyways in mid-January. But I think by the middle of February, he'll be swinging the bat. Things will look good. He'll start the season as if nothing happened and just kind of move on from there.
Yeah, and I think the Giants will be very conservative with him. Obviously, you don't want a young player to have a back injury, and the word about him is that he's gonna have the frame to put on size, so he'll probably get a little bit bigger, and so he's gonna have to make sure that he takes care of the back because he's going to be adding more weight, more size, and to his frame. So he's just got to do what you and I do is we feel that back tweak, and then we go, oh, got to go do some yoga today.
Yeah, exactly. More yoga, Marco. More yoga. That's what we can tell you from experience. But yeah, like you said, they are going to be conservative with him. One thing I took from the interview for sure was that he likes to have fun. And that's what we talked about. We're talking about the World Baseball Classic.
The joy.
Talking about,
the joy.
The joy, the fun. The baseball is fun when you're healthy. When you're not healthy, it's a grind. It's tough. And that's a mental aspect of the game. It's 162 games. You're not always going to have an injury that's going to put you on the injured list. It may make it so you play 3 out of every 5 games or 3 out of every 6 games. But it's something you have to manage, not just physically, but mentally. And being a young guy, the Giants organization, I'm sure, will work on that and say, look, when you're injured, there's a mental aspect to it. There's a mental well-being that we need to keep you under to make sure that you can get through this injury, progress, keep a positive attitude, and come out the other end of it and just start playing ball again. And I know the Giants will work on that.